this. Look at the pickup. Look at the turn. Oh, that was brilliant, Luke Bruce.
Lewis runs into the open goal. Thank you very much. The Hawks are back in town.
And he finishes more. He can with his fourth. He's had a day out. Scrimshaw, half the seas, went for home and nails it. They'll just set it up, looking for the high flyers. And Sicily soaring through the skies. For Warpino to finish it all off.
The draft is done and dusted for another year, and for the first time since 2009, the Hawks welcomed 5 new players into the fold. Today on the show, we're taking a look at our new recruits and how things are shaping ahead of an exciting 2023. Welcome to the Hawk Talk podcast. My name is Nick Mason, and welcome as always to my co-host who had a blast broadcasting live over draft nights 1 and 2. G'day, Tiz.
G'day, mate. Did you enjoy that? The live broadcasting?
I was a bit ramshackle, it was a bit thrown together, wasn't it? But I think listeners knew that. We gave them fair warning that it was going to be a little loose.
There were moments of disappointment, there were moments of angst, but there were also moments of ecstasy.
Absolutely. Drama, Tiz, the drama.
Oh, it's all about the drama.
I dare say that if you're up for it, we come back and do that next draft. I thought that was enormous fun.
I mean, it could be good. And thank you to AJ for...
Yes, AJ with, I was going to say his cameo. That might be understating it a little bit. He joined us practically the entire time over nights 1 and 2. He was sensational.
Yeah, it's nice to know where we're going with this. But on the night, we were both pretty confident Cameron McKenzie was coming to Hawthorn.
Yeah, well, that was the word that was going around, and, we kind of latched onto that as well. It started becoming pretty obvious. And I would say overall in draft night 1, there were very few surprises until you got to the end of that first round. But as you say,
Sydney started chucking bombs.
That's right, yeah, and we were involved in that too. But as you say, first round, our pick number 7, Cam McKenzie.
Yes, well, I mean, this is exactly what Hawthorn were after. They were looking for a midfielder, out-and-out midfielder and leader. Very, very high floor, very consistent, and terrific at passing into the forward 50. Decision-making's ideal. Exactly what Sammy Mitchell wants in his midfield.
Well, it's become clear since that the Hawks hold him in such high regard for his elite disposal. Sam Mitchell himself has praised McKenzie for having the best kick of the entire draft crop. So, pretty high praise there.
Very high praise. It was interesting, the little members-only Zoom hosted by Campbell Brown and with McKenzie and a couple of the boys, and at the end, Sammy Mitchell. There's some real hyperbole. He's really excited about these young kids coming to the club, Sammy.
Yeah, you can see that he's awash with enthusiasm, and that's exactly what the members need right now. The members need to be sold on that hope, and, Rob McCartney jumped on the call as well. He was the first speaker, and, he was a little reserved in his estimation of how Hawthorn are tracking and their trajectory. He thought maybe 2024 would be when we'd start to see Hawthorn make a move for finals.
And then Sammy slapped him down like a dunny seat.
Sam came on later and he said, no, I'm not thinking that. I reckon sooner. Why not sooner? So
I'm not telling the boys that.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Why would you? I think
that was his phrase.
Yeah, no.
The other thing that caught my ear, the phrase was Bailey McDonald, the fastest teenager on earth.
Yeah, something like that. Fastest kid alive, I think it was.
Something like that, yeah.
We'll get to Bailey soon. But yeah, back to Cam McKenzie. As we mentioned in our preview podcast, he ticks all the right attributes that you want with a potential draftee: strength, speed, agility, and endurance. And he brings that as a bonus, that scoreboard impact as well, which we could really use for a midfielder in that mix there. He's not the most super exciting, flashy talent that we could have taken. He was in a mix of about 5 that the club had their eye on for that first pick. But he is terrific, no doubt about it. He shapes as a very dependable midfielder, a very reliable ball winner, and it's kind of what we need.
Yeah, he's also a big body too. He's certainly well built. He's 83 kilos, 188 centimetres. And what you're looking at, and Sammy described this, on the inside he wants footy IQ, and on the outside he wants athleticism and ability to move the ball.
It makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, as a philosophy, there's nothing too complicated or cerebral about that. It just makes sense. And for a big body, I think McKenzie still boasts that class. And as you say, he's got a great balance between his inside and outside game. So you got the best of both worlds there. And look, like I said, he's not the most sexy draft pick, but it makes sense.
I'm sorry? His nickname is Frenchie. He must have a bit of SA.
Because of his stay in France, yeah. The boys have already cottoned onto that very quickly, so that's his nickname from here on in.
It's kind of a boring nickname.
Well, it makes me think of Greece, if I'm perfectly honest. So it couldn't be more further from an AFL footballer.
Amazing. So you happy with that use of the pick 7?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am happy. And the more I've seen of him in terms of highlights, the more I've heard him speak and the raps on him, I'm very content with that pick. I think the only way I might have been disappointed is if it hadn't have been a midfielder. It had to be a midfielder, it was a midfielder, and Cam Mackenzie is a very good player.
Mate, you must be rapt. They're all midfielders.
I know. I didn't think we were going to lean into it that hard. I will admit that. I thought we might change it up at some point, but even our hybrid player, the next guy we're going to get to, the utility, Josh Weddle, tall defender, that's what he was billed as. As soon as he was drafted, we had talk of, Hawthorn are going to run him through the midfield.
Yeah, I think that came to me fairly quickly looking at his stats.
Yeah.
Like the athleticism, his composure, the rebounding, he's got good acceleration, and the fact that they put versatility in the profile. Because I think they threw him back. What did he grow? Like a foot in the last 18 months, and they threw him into defence.
Yeah.
While he sort of figured out exactly how tall he was.
Well, that's where Weddle himself has mentioned feeling most at home is as a defender. That's where he's plied his trade lately. But he is one player, make no mistake, he could genuinely be anything. And that's all owed to this insane athletic profile and the versatility that he has. Hawthorn may yet have other plans for him. He might start as a halfback, that loaded halfback line. But don't be surprised if he switches to a wing and then eventually graduates to the midfield.
Yeah, at 192 centimetres and 91 kilos, he's probably... they could look to play him from round 1.
Yep, he's a big boy, absolutely. And, there's a reason why I kind of had him touted initially in our preview podcast as an heir to Sam Frost's role. That's due to the fact that talent scouts made so much of that aerial prowess and that rebound running. But he could play a different role for sure. I think it's really going to take shape over the preseason, just where we could expect to see Weddle.
This is an athlete, right?
Yeah.
His footy IQ... secondary to the athleticism. Is that what we're looking at? Because our first pick, the footy IQ, is primary.
That's true, yeah.
So, yeah, they were so rapt to get this guy at pick 18 too.
Well, I think it was mission accomplished as far as Hawthorn was concerned. They had a couple of goals, really. One of them was to trade back into the first round. They ticked that off, and they knew exactly who they wanted, and that was Josh Weddle. They must have... been rapt. He was the target, and they got him.
Did they overpay?
It certainly seemed like that on the night. Did we have confirmation finally that was our pick?
No, the second round pick is not our pick.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's some slight silver lining to all this.
So it's not tied to Hawthorn. That second round pick that we traded, that's tied to the Dogs.
Well, that's good news. And they certainly must
relief,
have
isn't it?
It is absolutely
I can see the relief in your face.
Yes. They must have felt that Weddle would not have lasted.
No.
And I think they're pretty much on the money with that, with everything we've heard and read after the fact. I think they made a good call. Look, they really wanted him. All the talk from the club around Weddle has been, extreme praise, really.
There's something about Weddle in his character that very much, I don't know, it's a bouncy feeling.
Yeah, he's an upbeat sort of a guy, and hearing him speak about the moment he was taken by Hawthorn and picked up in the draft, absolutely beaming. He loves it.
Well, I mean, they all do that, Nick.
Well,
but some of them don't communicate it to you. You actually feel the emotion in...
That's the point. I got an expressiveness from Weddle that isn't always there in draftees because they're nervous or maybe they've got,
You know how people have that ability to project energy into the conversation?
Yes. Yeah.
Like me?
Yeah, like you. That's why we pay him the big bucks. Patreon.com/talktalkpod.
Oh, wow. No, but Josh Weddle has that ability. He can inject enthusiasm and energy, and I really like that in a very young man, of course, because you'd think he'd be nervous talking to the Zoom. I thought very, very charismatic.
Yeah, and Cam Mackenzie, I thought, did well on the Zoom as well. I've got to say, I'm slightly blindsided by the fact that I'm almost as excited by Josh Weddle as I am Cam Mackenzie. I didn't really expect that, even when Weddle's name was read out, and I was quite chuffed because he was a guy that I brought to the table in our preview podcast. But even when it was read out, it didn't quite hit me for a little bit that this guy could be really quite something special.
Now we get to... Now, you love his name.
Yes, I do love his name, the next draft pick.
Do you want to give it your best?
My best?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible,
Yeah,
mate.
come
That would
on.
be my absolute worst.
No, come on.
Well, what do you want? What part of the world? Where are we travelling to?
Well, I know you don't have an Indian accent, so I'm going to ask for that one.
I don't have an Indian accent. That's the only accent I end up having. Whatever accent I try, it degenerates towards Indian.
Well, actually, I thought when you tried the German, you sounded quite Scottish.
Okay, well, give that a go.
Yeah, I think.
Hello, my name is Henry Hustvedt.
It's just so hello. It really is.
It is a real caricature of a flamboyant German man, isn't
it's
it?
weird. Yeah.
What about French?
Yeah, okay, off you go.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Henri Hustvedt.
Okay, yeah, we'll just leave that there, shall we?
It's one for the language learning tapes, isn't it? I need to really work on that.
The double H that you see on those jackets are those people who look like they have a yacht. That's actually Henry Hustwaite.
Midfielder, defender from Dandenong Stingrays, 195 centimetres. Now, there was a lot of talk on the night about missing out on Ed Allen. I know you were dead keen on Son of Ben and his athletic profile and how tall he was. Well,
Not even on the rundown, Chief. We never needed to meander over towards Ed.
I'm sorry, I've dragged you through it again. Trauma is what it is. 195 centimetres, though, is Henry Hustwaite.
He's huge.
Yep, so
And
similar.
he doesn't look huge in the highlight reels.
You don't think? I thought he was noticeably big.
No, I
But
sorry.
he moves like
All right,
he isn't.
sorry, yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
He's noticeably big, but he doesn't move like he's
Yes.
that tall. It's not ungainly. He looks very, very quick of thought, hands. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for this fella almost as much as the others.
Pick 37, he's a guy that's drawn comparisons with Scott Pendlebury and how he goes about things. Scouts have highlighted his superb execution by foot and his composure whenever things get hectic. Now, when talking up Hustwaite, Mark McKenzie concentrated specifically on how well and how cleanly he uses the footy, his footy smarts and his power. Sam Mitchell, later in the Zoom call that we attended last night, described Hustwaite as having the best hands of this year's crop. So, what that means is, between Cam McKenzie and Henry Hustwaite, we've got the best kick and the best handball in the draft.
It's pretty incredible, actually. When you watch him, he has a bit of the time and space stuff going on.
He does, yeah.
And we said that on the night when they threw up the highlights
Yeah.
in the coverage. Yeah, he's got a bit of the old, look at me, but don't come near me.
That's right, yeah. It defies his size and his build, doesn't it? How he manages to do it, I'm not sure.
If he puts on a bit of weight,
Yeah.
you know, this is what you get excited about because these are blank canvases.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
These are blank canvases with high quality and differentials. Like one's got top hands, one's got a great kick, one bloke's really, really quick. Mm-hmm. They're just ticking off. They don't want them to be good all rounders. They want them to have a specific spike in the profile where they are elite.
And that's consistent with what we've said about Sam Mitchell for a long time now, is that his recruiting philosophy appears to be that he is highlighting the thing. What is the thing that this player does really well? I don't want a jack of all trades.
Because that is difficult. And that's what a lot of, when a manager or a coach or even a line coach comes to a club, they look at the list and they go, what does this player do better than all the other players on the list? Mm-hmm. What can he do better than anyone else in the AFL? And how can I weaponise that against other clubs? And he's using that to recruit.
And with Hustwaite, I mean, a big boy with that kind of decision-making, disposal efficiency and agility, those attributes for a big body, that's certainly something you want. That sets him apart from, well, a lot of players, frankly, but even in this draft crop of ours and our pickups, he is certainly a unique talent.
Now, Jack-o'-lantern.
Jack O'Sullivan. I'm not doing an Irish accent. It's not happening. Midfield forward from Vic Country, played with the Oakley Chargers. I think we took a few Oakley Chargers boys this draft, didn't we?
Yeah, Weddle and O'Sullivan.
Anyways, a bit of a pocket rocket is Jack O'Sullivan, 177 centimetres and 71 kilos. A bit light on. He's actually broken his collarbone twice over 2022, which is not ideal. But
On the footy field?
I'm not actually sure how he sustained the injuries. Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me, looking at what he brings to the table.
Might be a skateboarder.
He might be, but looking at what he brings to the game, tackling and toughness, you can just picture him, with his stoppage craft as well, getting really stuck into a pack, maybe at his own peril at times. Maybe he went too hard. He's got the tackling prowess and the toughness that sort of defies his size, which again, that's a theme that we're running into here in this draft. There's a lot of upside. He just needs continuity.
Manic small forward. Love it.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, on the night, I had a couple of other players attached to that Puopolo-like profile, and Jack O'Sullivan is another guy that could fit that bill. Clean hands and evasiveness, and as I said, that combination of the tackling and toughness is, well, it's promising. What's interesting is he feels most at home as a midfielder, but you can see him terrorising defenders in the forward 50.
That's good because he's got a tank.
He does.
If he's playing midfield. The thing is, you just can't bottle that competitiveness, that willingness to tackle. You can try to train it, you can try to demand it, but if you arrive at the club like that already...
That's a massive bonus, yeah.
Now, this bloke we were sitting there for a little while. There was some time between picks, and we're going through who's left.
All of
and
our
I
names
read
have
out
been...
Bailey McDonald.
Well, it might
And
have
I
been
wryly thought, another Mac.
It might have been a play out of desperation because a lot of the names on our list have been struck off. We're already picked by other clubs.
Yep.
And we thought, well, running out of options here. We'd done pretty well to predict the first couple in McKenzie and Weddle, and then, yeah, it gets harder as you go on, of course, but we ended up with Bailey McDonald.
And he is lightning fast. So, what I want you to think about is Giath on one side of the MCG,
Yeah.
coming out the halfback flank, and then McDonald on the other, passing to McDonald in the forward line.
Mac to Mac.
The third Mac.
Oh, yes.
But we want to be more direct than that, Sammy. He doesn't want to go through the midfield. He wants to skip the midfield straight to the forward line. So, yeah, from Wesley, he just had such good form that he got invited to play for Sandy. He is considered a bolter and is a bolter on field at pick 51.
Yeah, that line-breaking speed and the disposal efficiency to match it's such a bonus. When you can zip along and still use the footy that well, my goodness, that is a really good asset to have. And look, Hawthorn were only going to pick 4 players, but they arrived at, pick 51, and he was still on the table and reported to be one of Sam Mitchell's favourites. They were never going to turn him down.
So, what you're looking at here is a match day plan based on speed, which will now have more than 1 or 2 fast players.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, suddenly Hawthorn has a list that I was kind of hoping for and have been for the past 2 or 3 years. As I told you, Tiz, every time I look at the draft profiles ahead of those 2 nights, I tend to Control F and then type in speed and see what comes up. And now we have a list with, Weddle for a big boy. He has some speed about him. Sullivan is quite zippy, as we covered. Bailey McDonald. CJ, don't forget we got Amon as well. Seamus Mitchell, yes, we'll get to him in a moment. Bramble has got some speed about him too.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Oh, look, there probably is, but I think the point's been made.
Not Connor?
Connor McDonald can be quick.
Connor Nash, perhaps?
Slap in the face there for you.
Do you think speaking of Connor Nash, do you think there's a lot of competition for his role now?
Yeah, there is. And Harry Morrison, actually.
Yeah.
So, and anyone who wants to play half-back really has to earn it.
Well, look, let's just say this. The competition for spots is going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll probably get to this next week.
Because these kids, they're not only picked on their abilities and their eliteness and their toughness, which is common to all of them, but also their competitive spirit. That never say die. I think that might be number 1 on Sammy's list.
Would not surprise me at all. We'll get to this next week, but the idea of picking a best 22 is slightly intimidating, that task.
Is it 22 now or 3?
Oh, because there's a sub and everything. Look,
We've got to change all the nomenclature now. And
we'll get to that next week. But yeah, it's formidable trying to work out just who makes this starting lineup. Anyway, we better move on because we had a guy that we took in the rookie draft as well.
yeah, so given that Josh Bennett was not bid on by anyone else on the first 2 nights, on the Wednesday, he was able to be just rookied as an NGA prospect, just straight onto the list. He's the best and fairest for the Eastern Rangers. He has some interesting moves. Like, he has a couple of tricks.
Yeah, he looks good in the highlights reel, doesn't he? And Hawthorn really rate him for that decision-making and the fact that he's super clean, classy, he's creative with the footy. As you say, he's got some tricks about him. And he add to that this knack for scoreboard impact, which, again, I really like the look of.
Loves a goal.
Loves a goal. Speed and scoreboard impact are such a priority for me because, I don't know, I just love a good highlight reel. You've got a really exciting player in Josh Bennett, and we did mention in the preview podcast that this year he went goalless just 3 times across 13 games for the Eastern Rangers. So really tricky to nullify. And he was averaging 18 touches as well.
Yeah, it's an impressive body of work, and he looks like a really good rookie pick.
He's another guy in this draft crop that, you know, Mackenzie was talking about. He needs to build his size. That's a priority for him in his first ever preseason. It's going to have to be the case for Josh Bennett as well. 178 centimetres and 75 kilos. There's a couple of these guys that we won't see immediately, but geez, the ceiling is there.
Yeah, how's Box Hill looking? Not a
Box
got a
Hill's
good
looking-
crop of young talent, I think.
Yeah, well, we've got Callum Brown as well.
Yeah, so he's been signed to Box Hill, and then we'll try to get a
SSP.
SSP place.
Supplementary selection period, is that?
That's it.
Yep.
And there's also someone else who's training the house
Patrick
down
Naish.
for that as well.
Are you talking about Naish, who came over from... Yep.
So he's Richmond, West Coast, and now trying to beat everyone out to a list position at Hawthorn.
Yeah, well, that's what the summer's for, basically. They've kept that list spot open, and look, they might keep it open all the way to the mid-season draft. Who knows? It's insurance for the time being.
When the Brown boys were delisted, I did think Hawthorn may look at them because they're an elite football family as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And they did look good for Collingwood a few times, but they've just gone past them in their position.
Yeah.
No, I'm keen to see if they can have an influence.
My boy Max Hall also signed on for Box Hill.
Did he?
Yep. So he's with them as well. Box Hill are going to be very exciting next year too. Hey, speaking of, well, delistings, we mentioned before, and Box Hill, because I imagine that's where this guy is going to be playing a fair chunk of his footy. His task will be to break in and finally make his debut.
Well, just play footy.
Yeah, Seamus Mitchell. He's been brought back onto the list via the rookie draft. That was the commitment from the club. They've made good on that. And look, it's up to him now. He's got to make the most of 2023. What's the bar? He's got to debut, surely.
Tell you what, feels generous. But what it says to me is they rate him.
Yeah.
They really must rate him.
Well, they must, because he's barely done anything for about 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and you think of the other talent that has fallen off the list.
Well, yeah, especially under Clarko. I mean, some of them had blindingly hot games and then fell off the list anyway.
Yeah, some of the players that are no longer at Hawthorn showed a lot more in, well, maybe a lot less time than Seamus, but here we are, Seamus Mitchell. I'm excited to just see what he can bring.
How are Northorn? Speaking of
Northorn, it does look like that. Alistair Clarkson with all of his old tricks back again.
Monkey and
Dan Howe and Liam Shields and Brett Ratton
and also the guy that ran the bench at Hawthorn.
Oh,
He's
really?
gone there too.
Okay.
And he's getting the band back together. Interesting draft though. Didn't rate it very much.
You didn't rate North's draft?
No, I thought they could have done better.
Well, maybe. I like the look of it, but more to the point, mate. What did you think of Hawthorn's draft?
Well, I knew it would be conservative. In that they wouldn't be going for any of the flashy players, the guys that you salivate over. There were wing guards in that draft.
Oh, for sure.
And we didn't pick them up.
Yep.
But in terms of rebuilding and putting in a lovely base for the next premiership side, I think there's a couple in here. And really, you only need one or two. If you get 3, you're wrapped. Mm-hmm. I think there's 3 with potential elite status.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree on that one. We're going to get to some questions now, because I was going to ask you for your grade, but I realised that our first question here from Appleby at Hawk Talk Pod, how did we get a D+ from Fox Footy for our draft? Was it done by the work experience kid?
Do they actually go into any kind of blurb about why they didn't like it?
Well, they did, but it didn't seem to line up with the grade. I thought, if anything, reading what Fox Footy had to say, their rationale implied that, I don't know, at least a C. Right. Like, it's not on the side of...
That was the worst in the league, right?
And Freo. We're equal with Freo.
Right.
And at that point, I'm looking at D+, and I'm like, well, why even add the plus then? Like, thanks for that little bit of charity by adding the plus. But, no.
Look, I don't care.
Oh, no, neither do I. But
like,
what I'm
if
asking...
they've given us an A, who cares? You win... Essendon win trade period every second year, and they're still awful.
Well, the point is, I'm asking you what your grade would be.
Oh, you don't know. It's too early. But given the information that they had, I think it's a solid B.
Yeah, I'd go B as well.
Because they haven't... See, this is the problem. It is risky to select. Mm-hmm. You can't take the risk out of it. But they've gone for conservative selections that probably won't bomb. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're risk averse. But with that, you may not get the most elite that was hanging there.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I see is that there was a total dearth of midfielders, and we've comprehensively addressed that need.
Yeah.
So, tick in that column as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what else would you have Hawthorn do at this draft? We've been roundly criticised for Tom Mitchell and O'Meara being no longer in the fold. You can't do nothing about that.
What's something else that you notice about these players is that many of them, scoreboard impact is part of their game. Mm-hmm. And that was a big question mark over Tom Mitchell, even when he won the Brownlow, and Jager himself. Only in the last year did he really start.
Yeah, I was going to say to a lesser extent Jager, but it was still a thing. Our midfield just wasn't... Well, I was going to say it wasn't potent in that way. It wasn't really potent in any way. Well, 18
and in the years when we were winning premierships, we didn't need midfielders to kick goals.
Yeah, well, we had elite talent.
It was great when they did because it made it so much less predictable.
Yeah, exactly.
But we had such talent forward of...
I mean, even you look back to the 2008 premiership and you think of the talent that we had on the park on that day and the kind of talent specifically up forward. And then on the stat sheet, Sam Mitchell has a goal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Campbell Brown has a goal.
Off the left.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, basically.
Not Campbell, but...
No, not Campbell now, Sammy Mitchell. But that was basically the end of the game. And
Ladson ended the game.
Well, that's true.
That was brilliant.
And the celebration. How good's the celebration?
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it now. No, we have some more questions to get to. This one from Mark. Have you heard of Will Lorenz, 2023 draft prospect, who is the grandson of Hawks legend Graham Arthur? Should there be a grandfather, grandson, granddaughter rule? Although we'll probably just pick him up anyway, like we did with Will Day.
Is there a granddaughter rule?
I don't think there is.
I'm totally ignorant on this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think there is, actually. But if you need to know about Will Lorenz, I couldn't bring up too much about him. This is from afl.com.au. Regarding the NAB AFL Futures game, Will Lorenz also had many exciting moments throughout the contest, with the silky midfielder having 24 touches, kicking 1 goal too, including a classy finish in the second quarter.
You know how we don't, pick up father-sons, hardly ever?
Yeah.
What if we asked a couple of old stagers to just adopt, the next pick one? And then suddenly becomes father-son.
I think that's what they call rorting the system.
I don't care.
I don't imagine... Would there be fine print around that?
I mean...
Actually,
Robbo would have a field day.
Then again, the amount of times Hawthorn's done something, then the AFL's like, shit! Damn
bloody
it!
hell, they got in again.
So you might be onto something. We've got to innovate. We've got to force the AFL to write new rules. That's how we've got to play things off the field.
Or, which is kind of where I wanted to end up with this conversation, Just start a father-son academy, please.
Yes, yeah. You've been hot on this for a number of years.
It's staring you in the face.
I mean, we've been such a successful club.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want a father-son academy? Wouldn't you want that pedigree coming? Anyway, it seems like a no-brainer to me too. This question from Doc: where does Frost fit in next year? I like him at half-back as it frees up Sicily or Scrimshaw, but DGB, Blank and Jekka probably need more games to develop. Does he start forward to partner Lewis at the expense of Cozzy as a new sub? What do you see for Sam Frost?
I think the sub will be given to a young player every day of the week.
Yeah, probably.
But Frost, look, he is needed out there to keep a cool, calm head, Nick.
Well, we need experience at this point.
Yes, a cool, calm head. That's what I said. That's what he's there for.
Oh yeah, not the chaos ball that he
The
usually.
voice of experience.
Yep.
That's the only reason he comes up in questions like this. Like if he didn't have that moment where you have no idea and he has no idea and the umpire has no idea where that ball's going.
Yeah.
But if he didn't have that, we wouldn't have this question, would we?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
We just look at him and we think, oh, look, he's not really cool, calm and collected. Blank looks more cool, calm and collected at most times. But his impact is incredible, Frost.
Yeah,
Like
I believe that.
People
too.
underrate him.
Yeah,
but his
no.
ability to blanket someone and then make him look stupid when he runs away from them.
He's still best 22 for mine. It's just a matter of where you play him. He might move into more of a utility role moving forward. He could be in back pocket, half back, but then again, does he move on to the wing?
He can do most things. He can go on
Yeah.
a bloke taller than him. He can go on a bloke shorter and faster than him and do well.
We saw that experiment with him in the forward line against Brisbane, where he took that great mark and.
Fantastic mark. If you do bump into him, just tell him how good that mark was.
Who have we got here? Views from the nosebleeds. Who supports Lewis up forward as our starting centre-half forward? Cozzy, Jekka, Green, Frost? Any ideas?
So, yeah, what happens with Green? Because obviously there's a role pick for him.
Yeah.
That's why they got him.
I mean, there are enormous shoes from Gunston that have been left behind. Can Green fill that role, or...?
Well, Green's excellent at being able to both create and manipulate space in the forward line. Mm-hmm. You see that at Box Hill. But whether he can do it at AFL is, as you quite rightly say, another question.
Yeah.
He just doesn't seem to get in the way of the other forwards, which Gunston never did either. Mm-hmm. Probably because they respected him a huge amount. Well, the first gig probably goes to Cozzy.
Yeah,
And
it has to go to Cozzy.
can you play Louis, Cozzy and Green in the same forward line?
I think you can. I think there's a question also of what's happening with our ruck division. Are we playing two rucks on the day? Are we going with Reeves and Meek? Because I imagine Meek could be a good forward target.
And Lynch became excess to requirements in that little...
No, I'm just speculating that that's their 1-2 combo.
Is Jekka staying back?
Well, that's another big question. I mean, just trying to build this team is a nightmare because you have...
You know Will Day's training with the midfield.
Well, yeah, that was something that did come out of that Zoom meeting, is that they've got him as a lock as a defender.
My favourite part about that is we know he can play back. So I'm going to train him for the midfield.
No, that's it. That's exactly what I'm getting at. They know what they've got. He can go into defence. They're happy with what they've seen. And now we move on.
They would like him to put on some weight, Nick.
They would.
They would.
Yeah. But it's time to upskill.
I love it.
They really need to do more with that KFC activation, don't they? They've been hanging on about this for a while. We did more for KFC and Hawthorn over that broadcast.
Look, I think KFC will be okay.
Oh, do you reckon?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, but maybe you could go with something that goes well with the KFC, like a free New Year gym membership, something like that. I don't know.
Right.
Complimentary products.
Yeah, there's actually a new gym membership, but it's for the Kennedy Centre, so you won't get to use that for a while. But they did say 2024.
Now, is that all scuttlebutt that they took the scarf off the deal for the membership?
Yeah.
Right, and then they increased the cost of the membership, and they give you a voucher for the scarf now as well.
Yeah, Look, I've received my membership pack and everything in the email, and I still need to read that. But I did notice that when I renewed, that mine was significantly more expensive than it had been.
Right.
And, I'm not letting go of my gold membership, maybe ever. About to say anytime soon, but I always want it.
Did you ever feel like you should be able to buy a few years in advance so you can lock in the price now?
That wouldn't be too bad, actually. That's a decent initiative.
Yeah, and the money goes to the club and they get to spend it.
It's kind of like with our Patreon, where you get a discount if you sign up for the year. Patreon.com/HawkTalkPod.
Yeah, like if you want to be a decade supporting the Hawks.
Yeah, you should get a discount for that. We've strayed from the question, who supports Lewis up forward as starting centre forward? I think the rotation of the rucks has a lot to do with our personnel and whether we're playing two. I would say that Green is down there and there is room for him, and the duo that we go for is still Lewis and Cozzy. But it's Cozzy's to lose at this point. He needs a big year.
I would say that they will lean on putting the ruckman behind the ball rather than ahead of the ball.
Okay, that's Tiz's tip. Tim asks, if you could prize a Geelong veteran away in payback for Isaac Smith, who would you pick?
A Geelong veteran.
Yep.
Is there anything other than...
Go on, name names.
I don't remember.
It's quite like them in their old age. Tom Hawkins, I reckon, would hurt them the most.
No. I don't want to see
it's not about what Hawthorn gains, it's about what Geelong loses.
I don't want to watch him miss.
It's a dagger through the heart for them, and that's all I care about.
No. Let me think. Mitch Duncan.
Anyway, we also had another question from Doc here. The signing of Cal Brown, he's a good get for Box Hill. Just wanted to mention that. Keen to hear your thoughts. Tiz, I know that this is a guy that you're a bit more excited about than me, mostly because I don't know much about him.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate how he plays his game. I think he keeps his head over the ball very... I don't know, there's something about him that I really liked. He never really hit his potential, though. I think he was denied opportunities at Collingwood. There's also a lot of pressure on him, being the son of Gavin Brown. And
we're back to this selection conundrum with Scamasaurus. Pre-season positional moves are going to be interesting. Defence is stacked, but who leaves the comfort zone of defence? Jekka a forward, Sicily a midfielder or forward, Scrimshaw could be a midfielder, Day a midfielder, we've covered that, Bramble a midfielder, that might well happen, Frost a midfielder or forward. We have so many options. I think that's almost a 6 or 7 part question from Scamasaurus, and it's not his fault, it's just where Hawthorn finds themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we get into February, we'll start seeing where blokes are training and what we're likely to look like there. But what is clear is that Mitchell wants to be totally unpredictable to the opposition.
Yeah, well, he's done that.
And he wants to rely on the footy smarts of the bloke in possession of the footy to be able to hit whoever's available in that forward line at speed. And he wants to create the space in our forward line via speed from defence. But looking at this draft, if you look at how many midfielders we've picked up, why on earth would you be pushing some of these guys into the midfield? So my thought that Sicily might be playing midfield if we need him, if we've got blokes coming through like this, no, he's playing forward.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I would sooner expect Sicily to float forward as a matter of just experimentation and doing something unpredictable.
But he does have the ability to influence the game. So it's all a huge experiment, 2023. That's quite clear. As
it should be. It's not about wins and losses for 2023. It's a year of development and seeing where we land post-season. So, and then charting a way forward for 2024, which at that point really should be you start to make your move for finals.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, this is laying the foundations. And, there's a guy in that mix there. We named, in Scamasaurus' question, there's a few guys that are mentioned as potential midfielders. What about Cooper Stevens? He's a guy that hasn't come up at all this podcast, and he was picked up to play in the midfield.
Yeah, so you expect he's best 22.
Stevens?
Yeah.
Could be.
Well, I mean, if you haven't got Amir, you haven't got Mitchell. If he's not best 22 round 1, you'd be asking questions.
Yeah, okay. Well,
he's a big boy.
Map out your midfield now. Who have you got? In the middle?
Wow.
Oh, well, I'll try it too. I'm not just putting you on blast.
No, put me on the spot. No, that's good.
All right. Well, who have we got? So Warple comes back in.
Yeah. Okay.
Jai Newcomb.
Do you have any faith in Warple?
Well, I've telegraphed my answer there, haven't
Well,
I? Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, have someone else telegraphed their thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a fair
That
question.
was my point.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good, 5-man insurance policy in case Warple doesn't work out. Mind you, he does love a workout. Stevens, Josh Ward?
Yeah, Josh Ward. You got Wingard running through the midfield. He'll have to do that again next year, you'd expect.
Yep.
Sam Butler probably get a roll through the midfield.
Oh,
Connor
really?
McDonald.
Yeah, Connor McDonald, I would hope, graduates. In the
Where's
midfield.
Josh Morris in all this?
Half back, if he can bustle his way into that side, which is a big question mark.
And of course, you've got Newcomb. I mean, it's not. There's
Nash, you didn't mention your boy Nash running through the midfield?
No, I didn't. No, because as it stands, although he probably gets a start at the beginning of the year, I hope he's under pressure by the end. But
Well,
he's just
ideally,
such a
yeah.
well-built fella against these
Yep.
lighter frames that he probably will be there at the end of the season.
Well, he offers
But for him to come under pressure is fantastic for the club.
he offers a significant point of difference. That helps. But yeah, ideally, he's one of the guys that is under pressure by the end, and there's significant pressure for spots. But
But if he keeps improving as he has done the last 2 years, you know, he has very good ability.
this enigmatic Hawthorn midfield is going to be something to watch in 2023.
Well, not only unpredictable to watch, but also unpredictable to the opposition
Yeah, fantastic.
and highly skilled. This is what finals sides are made of.
That's all that Mitchell's been building towards. That's all he's been talking about. You catch him talking
he's
about
bloody
it.
focused.
Every press conference, he'll talk about we're trying to build a brand for finals.
Yeah.
You know, something that can
Not
hold
sure I
up.
like the word brand.
Well, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not sure he uses that exact word.
I
But
think he does.
there you go. But he cares about building a side that can match it with the best long term.
Yep.
All right, and to cap off our miscellaneous questions as we look to wrap up the show, we've had a few people asking us about Google Podcasts. Mate, we thought we had it all figured out.
It did look like we had. And then Google didn't play ball.
To the extent that I created videos and social media stuff announcing that we'd fixed it, we had not fixed it. So,
But then we deleted what Google knew about us. So eventually, that little bot or whatever they run should find our actual new feed.
that is the hope.
Because the problem is that we had the old feed and Google still maintained the old feed. And so we've deleted the information they had about the old feed. Now they should find the new feed. But it just takes that bot a little while to get round to us.
So, look, all this is to say, fingers crossed we do finally get it sorted. I do wonder how many listeners are craving this. I know that about 90% of our listenership are Apple people.
Because we don't exist on Google Podcasts.
Well, my point is that people are listening to it just fine. They can find us just fine. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, Audible, YouTube if you like, any podcast app if you're an Android user like myself.
Or you can find the RSS feed itself and plug it into your Google Podcasts. That would work.
Oh, that would work. Okay. Well, that's something. But look, we're here. We are working on it. We're as frustrated as you. It's been a long time in the making. We're still not entirely sure what's up with it and why we've encountered so many difficulties, but we are trying to get on Google Podcasts. So there's a bit of housekeeping. Time for a little bit more housekeeping as we get to the social media stuff. If you are in fact listening to our show via Apple Podcasts and you do have a minute to rate and review our show, we'd really appreciate that. Of course, it does make our day to read that stuff, but it also effectively recommends the show to other diehard Hawkers too. And of course, we're building a wonderful community of Hawthorn fans over on Twitter, twitter.com/HawkTalkPod. Now is a great time to invite listeners over there because we're about to hit 4K. 4,000 followers on Twitter, mate.
It's a lot of people, Nick.
There's a lot of Hawthorn supporters, for sure. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/HawkTalkPod. Get on board. We'd love to have you there, as well as Instagram. And lastly, as always, a shout out to our proud, passionate, and paid up Patreon subscribers who make it possible for us to put time into this podcast each and every week. Your support is really, really appreciated. Now, if you're listening to this and want to sling us a bit of coin to support our show and get some bonus content in the process, hop on to patreon.com/HawkTalkPod.
Now, I need to ask if you're registered.
For?
The AGM, mate.
Yes, of course I am.
Oh, good. Good. I don't want to get there and you're like, oh, I didn't know you had to register. Whoops, I'll see you at the pub.
Yes, well, this is a bit of a PSA to our listeners as well. If you do want to attend, you're going to have to register, so you can't just rock up. Basically, the club has laid down the law there. We've got to notify them that you're showing up, and you'll need to have your member number. They'll cross-reference it. So did they do that the other years we were there? I think they did, didn't
Yeah,
they?
when you walked in, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So that's
Must
the
be
situation.
anticipating a crowd.
Oh, can't imagine why.
We've only been talking up the theatrics of it this year.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm looking forward
Although
to
I
it.
do believe that the candidates will find out the result before the evening.
Yeah, you don't think it'll be like Australian Idol or something?
No, I don't. Where they dim the lights and then a little spotlight goes round the nominees.
I wish it were like that.
No, you don't. That's terrible. These people are volunteers. You don't want to shame them.
It's not about shaming you.
It's going to be terribly aggrieving if you're not returned.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the Hawthorn Arts Centre. Let's get it a little bit artistic. Let's make it theatrical.
Ugh,
Art Centre or Town Hall?
I don't care. I know where it is. I turn up.
Okay, well, I'll see you there. I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, last bit of housekeeping before we wrap up. We need
You can't wreck the gift. You're not allowed to unwrap it.
Can I just say it's our final episode of the year next week?
It is, yeah.
Okay, all right. That's all I want to say. It's got our season recap, the fallout from the AGM, a look at the fixture, which will hopefully be released. Well, let's face it, it's probably out by now.
No, it'll be out Boxing Day.
When the test happens.
Yes.
The AFL's got form now.
Or up against Santa.
Just ticking off all the big moments.
I mean, it's just so pathetic.
It was very petty, but also quite odd.
Like, guys, world event. Like, know your place?
I just thought it was more detrimental to them because there's just less eyes on it.
Yeah, well, I know everyone heard about it, but it's just like, oh, okay, Essendon, big deal.
It wouldn't have mattered who it was.
Yeah.
At that point in time when the World Cup's on.
What? Do you know what thought came to me? Oh, they can work it out 4 months ahead for round one, but they can't tell me 5 weeks out where I'll need to be to watch Hawthorn.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that was me. The little guy inside me went, you know, that's ridiculous. How many bloody weeks out? You tell me about round one, can't tell me mid-season where I need to be.
Anyway, the point is, we'll have a look at that fixture on our last episode of the year, and seeing it as we're in the Christmas spirit, as you say, Tiz, there might be a little bit of a gift.
So let me ask you, Nick, were you made to wait until Christmas morning before you were allowed to open your gifts, or could you open one the night before, whichever one you chose?
No, it's going to be Christmas morning.
Yeah, that's it?
That's it.
Okay, so we're holding over the pod until Christmas morning, because this is a gift.
Yeah, we've got something exciting in store, but no, next week we'll release our final podcast for the year. And what a year it's been. It's going to be good to reflect on.
Can we pick up the gift and shake it? Try to work out what it is for the listeners?
I don't think you'd appreciate that, frankly. Oh, no, I've ruined it. It's a guest. Oh, no.
Anyway, it will be a bit of fun, and we're quite excited, as you can probably tell.
Indeed. You're not going to want to miss our final episode of the year. This has been another edition of the Hawk Talk podcast. We will catch you next week. We are a happy team at Hawthorn.